Good morning. It is 8 o'clock on a Thursday. Thanks for being with us for Second Cup. Friday for some. There is a big Kenny Chesney concert tonight at Darien Lake that our resident country fan will be attending, which, hey, look, power to you if you like to spend your money on one thing.
And I do. I love him.
What is your favorite Kenny Chesney song?
I can't. There's too many.
If you could pick two.
I don't even know if I could.
Really?
There's so many. I like all his songs.
How long have you been a fan of Kenny Chesney?
Since I first saw him come here, it was right after he had arrested.
Oh, good.
It wasn't the concert he got arrested at. It was the next one because he opened for Tim McGraw, and I was a Tim McGraw fan then. And then I saw Kenny Chesney perform for the first time, and I was like,
Hold my beer.
Everybody stop. Actually, this is my guy. And then I've seen him like every year since practically. And then that concert was funny because he came back and they wore county jail shirts.
Oh, I remember you showing me that.
They shouldn't
That's
have done
funny.
what they did. We get it. You know, was they whatever. They said,
Didn't he steal a horse?
Part misunderstanding, part whatever, his whole thing. But yeah, I remember them being in court here too.
Daniel says "Don't Blink" is the best one ever.
Don't blink.
How does it go?
Don't blink, because just like that, you're 6 years old and you take a nap and you wake up and you're 25 and your high school sweetheart becomes your wife.
Wow. Profound.
Don't blink. You might miss your babies growing like my dad, turning into moms and dads. Next thing you know, your better half of 50 years is there in bed. What's really sad? It's like he's going to die.
Oh,
it's really
God.
sad. It's a good one.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. That's Kenny Chesney?
No.
Oh, I didn't think so.
No, it is not.
I'm like, what?
That's Big and Rich, right?
You're asking the wrong person.
Is that Big and Rich? Save a horse, ride a cowboy?
Save a horse, ride a cowboy. Yeah. I mean, that's like the only...
Listen, the quintessential Kenny Chesney song that all you guys know is She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy.
She thinks my tractor's sexy. Yeah,
okay.
okay.
That's one of his very earliest. He's gotten a little less country since then.
I will be 100% honest with you that I did not even know that he sang that song. I did not know that song. I didn't know who Kenny Chesney was.
You know the one that you like? Get along.
Oh, yeah.
The road. We got a long, long way to go.
Grab a bear.
Except that Ed makes all his own words up.
Ride my horse.
No. Those are not.
Who sings that sunrise? Okay.
Luke Bryan.
So funny. Your mom says "Live a Little" is my favorite.
Little. That's a good one.
Mark says Kenny was on the Pat McAfee show last Friday. And Howard says, yes, Save a Horse is Big and Rich.
Yeah.
I don't know any of this.
Kenny's got some good ones. I like American Kids. That's a really fun one. Somewhere with You. Oh.
Sue Ann says that you look beautiful.
Thank you.
That dress is gorgeous.
Thanks, guys.
It's a new one. Do you want to explain where it came from and for how much?
No, not really. No, I do. Because I do think people should know this.
Yes.
Because nobody else knows. My chair keeps sinking. Marshalls, you can purchase things online. Nobody knows this.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I know, but Katie knows this. I got to put this back on.
See,
It's freezing in here.
When I think of Marshalls, I think of like the stuff that's
overstock.
Yeah.
Which it is. But so they do have an online website.
But how does that work? So if they are just getting like random stuff in,
they probably have a ton in a warehouse somewhere, and they're like, yeah, we can get rid of whatever. So this is from their online, and I was telling Ed, I found 3 dresses and 1 jumpsuit. They were $10 each.
That's pretty cool.
Like, listen, even if they don't fit, I'll donate them for $10. But I tried 2 of them.
Like tailor them.
I tried the 2 of them on. Well,
I mean, if they're too small.
it depends on which way they.
Yeah, understood.
It depends on which way they go. But I did try like 2 of them on that were $10 yesterday, and they fit great.
That's great.
$10.
Perfect buy. Okay, as we are getting into the conversation this morning, let's talk about 2 different things. Number 1, saving for a rainy day. You know, like it's one of those things that you're taught from an early age, and you are supposed to have enough money in the bank for something that goes wrong, an emergency, something happens, God forbid, and you need some cash fast. How do you save nowadays for a rainy day? And is that even possible? A lot of people are without that rainy day fund because it's just so difficult to prepare for that emergency. And listen to this. The average American said that they felt that they would need just over $5,000 saved to even feel comfortable.
So this is different than recent studies that we've seen, because remember recent studies, and I'm thinking recent, maybe the last couple of years, when people said like one unexpected expense would knock them out. Remember?
Yeah.
We used to have that. So this says most people now say they could afford to cover an unexpected $500 expense. But others say, yeah, it would strain their finances. Some say they could not afford an emergency.
But $500 and $5,000.
Well, let's think about like a rainy day fund in my mind isn't just like, oops, something happened. A rainy day fund is like,
I could cover multiple expenses.
you lost a job,
Sure.
right? Something, yeah, maybe one of the two of you lost a job, something along those lines. And you're like, okay, now I really need to dip into that.
So Anita says it's really hard to put money aside right now. Robin says there's no way I could have a rainy day fund. Shannon, Martha says, stop going for expensive coffees, save that cash. Mary says, well, for saving, since they asked me back to work, I put that in a separate account that I opened. That's kind of interesting. And like, okay, so if you don't go for coffee every morning, you know, you're not spending that $5 a day. So, okay, you're saving $20 a week, or $25 a week, say, if you're going 5 days a week for coffee. Like, I guess that could eventually add up.
Yeah, I mean, everybody always says, you know, Dave Ramsey, and that's like one of his, that's even Dave Ramsey, the money guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, but everybody always says like he's got really good advice for different things, but then some of it, like some of this advice, how outdated can that be a little bit when it comes to the like, okay, save $5 for a coffee.
Right.
Okay, but how far does that really get you? I totally get the point, you know, but I don't know, you know, it's, you have to live kind of like below your means for a while if you want to have that money set aside.
You know, it's kind of like losing weight a little bit. You need to be in a calorie deficit. And here are two things that I have a really hard time with: being in a calorie deficit and being in a financial deficit. Lauren says, yes, we try to have enough just in case something big around the house happens, new furnace, etc.
See, and this is kind of my point, and I didn't mean it like this, but Sarah was saying like the stop buying coffee cracks. Like younger people have heard that for years, but the fact of the matter is it's not just the coffee, it's the economy, right? Like
yeah, sure.
It's gone beyond
the fact
that
coffee's $5.
It's gone beyond the coffee at this
Right.
point. Yeah.
Mary says, I have the entire check going to a different account. Interesting. James says, for health reasons, I stopped drinking coffee. I was going to Starbucks every day. I'm saving quite a bit now.
Now, Lori says you've got a plan. Take that percentage out of your paycheck.
Okay, now here's my question. So, Lori, with that percentage, are you putting that in like a retirement account, or are you putting it in a literal account that you have access to if, God forbid, there was an emergency? Because if you're putting it like in a 401k and you need that money, sure, it's available, but you're going to be penalized something serious for taking it out.
Yeah, it's got to be both. You got to do both, truthfully.
Yeah.
Maybe you split the difference. Maybe if you're like, I can put aside $100 a month, maybe you split the difference, 50-50 or 25-75.
Okay, some tips here. This is what the experts are saying.
If you have this big unexpected thing.
Yeah, hold off on other expenses like groceries or less expensive bills. You'd be like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
A lot of people have to ask their family, is what they're saying. And dip into savings if they have it.
That's scary. Yeah, and Robin, hard on a fixed income. No doubt.
And Sarah's bringing up all the other stuff too. Mortgage rates being high, childcare being expensive, student loans being such a big bill every month. There's so many things that you're paying for.
And so here's the argument that I hear a lot, and I really don't like this. Like, obviously, child planning is important, but people will be like, well, if you don't have children, then you'll save money. But like, that's not a thing.
I mean, it could be a thing if you don't want them, but if you want them, then you should be able to have them, you know, right?
And Peter, if you have kids, hold your breath. It seems like it's a little impossible. Jeff says we do 25 in savings, and then both kids get 25 in their college funds.
Mm-hmm. You know, yeah, life is expensive, and there's always something.
No kidding. And the second you think you get ahead,
like,
you're right back 3 steps behind where you were.
And like, there are things I'd love to do at our house that we just haven't done. Because,
like what?
Like, I would love to move the laundry upstairs. We haven't done it
to the second floor.
Because in my head, it's in the basement right now, and we're on the second floor. So in order to get to the laundry, I go down almost 3 flights of stairs because like we have that second unit, so it's a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I bring it all up 3 flights and I go back down 3 flights of stairs.
That's annoying.
It's a lot. So I have thought, oh, it would be so nice to do that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, how much is it? And am I justifying that cost? I don't know.
I wonder if it would even be a lot. I mean,
See, my God, now you sound like Paul.
Well, because realistically, if you put it, I know that don't you have that room that backs up to the bathroom? Isn't like the plumbing nearby?
That closet in the hall, and there's a bathroom below it. So the ability exists.
Yeah.
But I just don't know
I bet you Paul could do it on the cheap.
I think I just need to keep walking up and down stairs.
The other thing that we want to talk, as we're kind of talking about the economy and how hard it is to save money these days, it seems like the economy is one of the big things that a lot of people are really focused on, especially when it comes to the 2024 election between President Trump and President Biden, former President Trump and President Biden.
I think everybody's planning to watch this tonight.
So this is a huge opportunity for us to really get an idea of who is the better of the two, I guess. I don't know. Are you making up your mind based on this debate, or have you already made up your mind without even seeing the debate? I'm so curious.
I'm curious too. I want to watch it because I want to hear their responses to the questions, and
Right.
I also want to see their demeanor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, how they present.
How they present.
Anita
That's
says,
an important thing to see.
my mind is made up. So Anita, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked this morning of Felice. And this is going to be a choose your own adventure, accept this challenge if you will.
You choose what you want, Anita.
Who are you voting for, Anita? Lauren, same question. Robin, same question. This is a choose your own adventure. Answer if you'd like, or don't answer. Katie says, I wish we had a better option than two men who are in their 80s. And that was one of those things that a lot of people were weighing in on this morning when we had this conversation at 5:15. Age is truly a factor here. You are looking at some of the oldest candidates that we've had in feasibly becoming the 47th president.
GMA just had the top 5 issues. Can we remember what they were?
It was economy, it was crime and safety.
Economy, inflation?
Yeah.
Economy and inflation. Yeah. Guns
and safety.
Abortion.
That's 3. There were 4 and 5. Crime was on the lower end.
Crime was number 5.
And I can't remember what that 4th one was.
I'm trying to remember what they were.
I bet you if you go to their Twitter, you could find the story. It's a matter, I think, of the actual issues that affect everyday people. Is it because there were 2 for Biden, 3 for Trump?
Yeah. Well, because they were literally like looking at how people had responded and how they felt. They were like putting a point system.
Exactly.
To it, basically.
So, border security.
Border security.
Yes, thank you, Katie. These are, and the things that you would think of, inflation, the border, crime. Trump had a pretty significant lead above Biden, but then it comes to women's rights, and Biden obviously has more of a lead there.
And there was one more that he did too, but that's a woman that we just can't remember.
My mom, good morning, Jan. The question to me is, why can't we find 2 better candidates from which to choose?
Interesting.
And is it a state of extremism in our country that we are unable to find people who are simply moderate? Or are we unwilling to choose people who are moderate because of the state of extremism in our country? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm asking here? In other words, like, do we not want to find those people because we have all become so polarized?
Well, right. Or are we like, these people are never going to win? We shouldn't even put them up because they have no shot.
Well, and the interesting thing, according to this GMA poll that they just put out there, the ABC News poll, I think it was from Ipsos, 18% of voters that they surveyed said that they were voting for RFK Jr., which is a huge issue because that means that either one, I mean, realistically, I don't want to say he doesn't have a shot, but realistically, the primary candidates are Biden and Trump. And if those people take votes away and vote for a third party, who are they then in essence giving those votes to?
So, and here's something too that's interesting to me. Like, for example, Elizabeth's comment, who she says she's voting for women's rights. So in her mind, she's not candidate voting. She's not picking this person or this person. She's issue voting.
Well, I wonder if you're among those voters then who are in the Biden camp, as we saw in that poll, compared to the Trump camp.
Are you more issue voting?
Right.
I think that's a good, because I also think over the past 8 years, we've seen how important some of these issues are to some people, and we've seen what happens when different people are in office. And so because of that, I think people do want, feel a certain way about different issues and know that it depends on who's in office.
Okay, so I asked for who you're voting for, and we can do a straw poll here and we can have the civil conversation. Julie says, I'm voting for Trump. I don't like anything Biden does. Sarah says, I can't wait to watch the debate. I feel like politicians don't have a clue what it's like to live as a middle/lower class person and how the economy is so hard out here. Robin says she's voting for Biden. Tracy says, if Trump can take us out of this horrible economy, I'm voting for him. Danielle says they're both terrible. James says Trump's agenda is pleasing the far right, and that means prohibiting reproduction rights and attacking LGBTQ rights. And then Anita says, I'm voting for the rights of my daughters and granddaughters. So she's issue voting.
I think it's so interesting. God bless everybody who wants you, me, or Bandit to be president.
Well, what does that say about the state of politics?
It's not good. It's not good, people.
It's so funny because actually, if I were to be president, you were to be vice president, somebody would come after me and assassinate me, and then you'd get the fiscally conservative one here. So it would be a total win for everyone.
Our wallets, people. We'd be watching our wallets. If Bandit was president, you could just put food on whatever you wanted. Yeah, exactly.
The cheese tax. Katie says, I'm not going to vote. See, and Katie, here's my question to you. Why not? And
I think here's how I feel. Like, I do totally understand people saying, like, neither candidate is my candidate. I get that. But can you say neither candidate is my candidate, but I still feel so strongly about X, Y, and Z issue, I have to vote for this person, or I feel like I should vote for this person?
And do you feel like if you don't vote, then you have a right to complain about the issue? Because I understand that we don't operate on a popular vote system here. And, you know, it's a cliche at this point to kind of say, like, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Yeah.
But I wonder, because it is our civic right, we have the absolute right as Americans to vote in this country, why you would choose not to vote.
Sarah says not voting or voting third party is a vote for Trump. We do not need a Republican in office. Lorianne says, that's right, Ed. No complaining if you don't vote.
And that's what Barbara says, too. If you don't vote, you can't complain.
Howard says, truly don't want either one of them, but if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Right. Anita says, if you don't vote, then you don't have a say. And that's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, and that's why this election is, every election is so special. I love Election Day. I think it's one of the greatest, literally God-given rights to be an American.
Kelly says, not sure, not a fan of either, but my rights as a woman are extremely important. Katie says it doesn't matter because New York is blue. She's defending her.
Right, why she doesn't vote. But I wonder if that is a, I don't know, like I don't really even think about that, to be honest with you, because when you look at New York, sure, it may be a blue state, but when you look around, it's really just the places along like those main arteries. Like you look,
sure,
New York City is a blue.
I mean, New York's never probably not going to be blue because of the population there.
At the same time, I mean, like George Pataki.
We did have a Republican governor.
Yeah.
We've had Republican governors before.
And he was on, you're right. What he said this morning or yesterday on Voices at 5:30 was fascinating.
So he basically said, this is going to be the most important debate of his life. And he said he's going to be watching to see first how President Biden performs, really. And then he just doesn't know if President Trump is going to, how would you describe what he said? Like have the right.
He's saying basically that President Trump is in it for himself and not necessarily
have the right demeanor and have the ability to like
defend the people.
To care for the country versus himself. Kind of. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but you can go back and watch it because we did have it on Voices last night. And
it was an interesting conversation. Jason says, I'm voting based on the issues. Anita says, your vote represents you, your choice, your rights, use it. James says, George Pataki became governor because Howard Stern was promoting him every day on his radio show.
So here's what's interesting too, and you know, Katie mentioning that she doesn't vote, like Tamara says, okay, the middle of the state is very red. Yeah, absolutely, New York State. So are you saying, Katie, you're not going to vote for president, or you're not going to vote, period? Because I do think maybe you say, okay, listen, president, it is what it is. The state's going to go one way. I can see your reasoning there, but there are so many smaller elections that have a big impact. And if we haven't seen how power goes to the states, and again, I know, you know, the argument that New York State is blue, but we have seen really close elections here, and we've seen areas that go both ways.
Sure. Take, for instance, the 27th district. The 27th district, which no longer exists here in New York, it's a congressional district. It's become the 26th. That was Chris Collins.
Chris Collins for a long time, and he was Republican.
Right. Chris Jacobs, it was Republican also. You know, now because it became the 26th, it was Higgins' seat. But now we see Tim Kennedy in that seat. He, I believe, will also be up for election once again in November because he won that special election.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah.
So I mean, those are really the important elections when
Yeah.
you think about them, because all politics is local.
Isn't that crazy?
Jeanette, this debate is already down in history for being ridiculous. It didn't even start yet.
So what do you guys think about the mics being muted when the other person
That's a great
speaks?
question.
What do you think about that?
I understand the reasoning.
Uh-huh.
I think I also understand the reasoning why there's no live audience. And I think that if there is a live audience, it gives perhaps more ammunition and fuels the fire for both candidates.
Yeah.
And I think that if we are taking that element out and making it as sterile as possible, we are genuinely then able to understand the issues and where these candidates stand, as opposed to trying to talk over each other and really getting nowhere.
The only thing that I don't like about the mics being cut, and I'm not saying I don't like the whole thing. It might be the best. It might be for the best, right? Because we actually do get to hear. The one thing I don't like is that I do think when you're watching somebody talk over somebody else, or you're watching how they respond to another person, that gives you insight into how that person acts.
And you know what? I'm sure that we're going to see that regardless.
I do too, because I think we're going to see maybe some people being louder than normal, or trying, gesticulating or whatever, to try to get their point across.
I just want to bring up a point here. Tammy, all I want to see is a fair and unbiased debate. However, I have near zero faith that CNN can deliver it. So I would be careful about that, because I think that we have this image of the media, or this thought of the media.
Well, everybody thinks CNN is very, very liberal. It has that reputation, right?
But when you're asking a question and you're having both candidates respond, I don't think that they're necessarily asking pointed questions.
I don't think so either. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what they ask, right?
Sure.
But I think they're going to ask very basic questions.
And I feel like that's kind of how you get the best answers.
I agree.
This isn't like a one-on-one interview where you're asking somebody to defend something, and perhaps in some cases you might, but I can't imagine they'd be like, Katie, tell us why you're wearing purple today. Ed, tell us why you hate purple.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's wait and see. Let's see tomorrow I won't be here, but you guys see how you feel about how the questions were asked. It is important, but I don't see a debate that they've prepped for that so many other stations are streaming to.
By the way, we are.
Yes, so watch it here. But I don't see that happening, knowing, you know what I mean? I think the idea here is to present fair questions to both candidates.
The world is watching this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is expected to be a huge moment for this country, and it'll be a telltale of what November will look like.
And it's so interesting because so many people already have their minds made up.
Right. But people still want to, it's the entertainment factor
Would
too.
anybody's mind be changed by what someone said? That's the thing. I don't know.
I know. Unless there's this bombshell.
There used to be, in the past, when we watched presidential debates, or maybe it would be party debates, right? You would wait to see what people said, because you're like, I don't really know how I feel about X, Y, and Z people. I'm going to wait and see what they say. It was a big deal.
You know what I don't want to see? The dial testing. I don't want to see Biden says one thing and all of a sudden you see the blue line shoot up. And I don't want to see, Trump says one thing and the red line shoots up and the blue line goes down. We get it. This country's already divided. And somebody mentioned this morning, who's going to be the better candidate to bring us all together?
Yeah. Right. And that, boy, we could use some of that.
Right? Oh my gosh.
So bandit it is. All right.
Anita says the world is watching. Don't embarrass us. Sarah says, no, we know Trump is going to be embarrassing and chaotic. And then Barb says, Biden is a bit drifty, but at least Biden isn't a felon. It's kind of an interesting conversation here.
I think so many people are going to be watching this. I'll be interested, maybe if I'm awake, you guys, because who knows if I will be or not. But
it's at 9:00. You'll be at Kenny Chesney.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying tomorrow morning when you're all talking about it. If I don't get to watch Second Cup tomorrow, I'll make sure I go back and watch it because I'll be interested to see what everybody has to say.
My dad says Gladys Doris, my dog. Wouldn't that be so funny?
Right.
And I kind of like Barbara. Maybe this is the period at the end of the conversation here. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that they each actually answer the questions they're asked.
I agree. Yes, for sure.
We'll see. You can watch that debate right here tonight on 7 ABC. It starts at 9:00. Our live coverage starts at 8 p.m.
Can you believe that we've blown through our 25 minutes already?
Yes.
What a show.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys.